Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cy Huffer and Friends. This is a podcast designed to help you flourish at life and relationships. I'm your host, Cy Huffer, lead pastor at the Gathering Christian Church in Naples, Florida. And typically, each month we focus on a topic that's relevant for you day in and day out. And we interview different friends of mine around the country that I believe are experts or have stories that can help you unpack those topics, whatever they are. But once a month, we take a break from that and we do one of these Can I Ask That episodes. And my friends, Lindsay and Andy, they come and they ask questions about different topics, different themes to kind of unpack these bigger, larger than life ideas in Christianity and try and help make them a little bit more simple, a little bit more graspable for the regular person in the room. That's the goal. And so for the last 8 months, this is the 8th month, we've been walking through this course called Basic Christian Doctrine. It's a YouTube playlist that's part of the Next Level playlists that Ozark Christian College, my alma mater, has put out. These are Bible college professors that are trained and have a lot of education in these areas. And so what we've been doing is we've been watching each episode, each session, and then prior to this podcast, and then we have been discussing it on the podcast together. Okay, and so this is the last one. This is session 8, guys. We did it. We are done now. It's been fun. And so the reason why we've been doing this is because doctrine, what you believe, is vital to how you live your life. Like those things are intricately connected. Orthodoxy leads to orthopraxy. So right doctrine, right teaching, truth leads to right behavior, right practice, right living. And so Lindsay and Andy, thank you so much for being here again today and tackling this 8th session by Chad Ragsdale on creation and humanity. So before we jump into anything, hey, what questions you all have about or reflections of the Basic Christian Doctrine experience we've gone through so far, anything that you would want to say, hey, this has been really helpful for me. This has been really challenging for me. I'd love to kind of hear from you both before we jump into this last one.
Ladies first.
Oh, wonderful. I think that some of them were definitely helpful. There was a few that I think were a little bit more challenging to really wrap my head around. I'm not necessarily always good at listening to something and being able to 100% at the beginning, take it all in. I have to sometimes listen to it multiple times. And there was a few of these that I felt like they were a little deeper for me, but there were some really great ones as well. So I really enjoyed going through this.
Awesome.
I really liked this last one. I thought this one in creation was probably one of my top ones. So
yeah, it was really clear. Chad did a great job. What about you, Andy?
Yeah, I agree with Cy. Lindsay. And overall, really good, very helpful. I think as a newish believer, sometimes it was difficult to say the so what. The Bible is so expansive, and it's wonderful that we're getting so much detail because that's really hard to determine on your own as well. So I love that it breaks it down so clear, but sometimes you were kind of left wondering, okay, so what's the so what of the 20 minutes I just watched? So then it was also very helpful because I could just ask you that.
Yeah.
So overall,
how does this have any bearing on my life today? That's the goal of what we're trying to do is really take these ideas, explain them, hopefully clarify them, and then bring about that so what factor. So session 8 is all about creation and humanity. What does the Bible say about what creation is and who we are? It's interesting if you look at church history. The first 300 years in the history of the church, 400, 500 years was really focused on the doctrine of Christ. Who is Jesus? And actually, a lot of it was focused on his humanity. Most everyone believed he was God, but the question was he actually human? And that was the big kind of theological doctrine that was being argued about and wrestled with for the first 300 years in church history. And then you move into this next season of church history during the Reformation, where there's this big question about, hey, how are we saved? What brings about salvation? What brings about us being in a right standing with God? And there's huge arguments, divided the church over that. And there's been different seasons in the history of the church that have argued, and they kind of centered on different doctrines. Okay. I can't remember who said this, but I really do believe this is true, that for our several hundred years that we are in the midst of right now, the big question that's being asked is, who are humans? Who are we? Like that's the doctrine that's being grappled with a lot today, is understanding what the Bible says about us. And there's a lot of different arguments and a lot of different debates about what is humanity. And so this is, and that's, and what you believe about who humanity is and what a human is impacts how you treat other humans. Hence, the Holocaust, right? Well, the Holocaust can say, hey, there's actually a group of people who are not as human, who are less than we are. And so because of that, we can treat them however we want. We need to rid ourselves of them because they are not on the same level, in the same stratosphere of humanity as we are, the pure humans. And that's actually a result of evolution. Like there's this progression of like, hey, survival of the fittest, right? Like we are the fittest. So because of that, we need to eradicate those that are not the fittest, which is which we'll get into a lot later. But anyway, so we listened to this session 8 by Chad Ragsdale on creation humanity. Here's a review. If you haven't done this yet, go back, pause this now, go back and watch. You can just type in Ozark Christian College, Basic Christian Doctrine on creation humanity, and you'll be able to find it with Chad Ragsdale. But what Chad said, he did a really, really good job in a succinct way talking about the doctrine of creation first. The creation is 4 things. It's physical. The creation is first good. That when God created, the Bible says that God looked at everything he said, created, and said, that's good, that's good, that's good, that's good. The sea, the earth, the stars, the sun, the moon, everything is tov, is the Hebrew word for good. And when he unpacked that a bit, he said, well, it's good because it's physical, not because it's spiritual. It's like up in the clouds. So this physical world is a good world. There's order to this world. There's diversity in this world. It's not all the same thing. Actually, the diversity is what makes it amazing. And the last thing, beautiful. This place is a beautiful place to live. Creation is beautiful. He said that's the first piece. It's good. Then it's fallen. Like this creation is not the way it was intended to be. Like there's hurricanes, there's tornadoes, there's famines that happen in this world. This world is groaning. Romans 8 talks about it's groaning to be made right. And that's the last thing about creation, is that creation is going to be part of God's redemption. Like there's this probably popular belief about heaven is that when I die, I go to this place in the clouds in the sky where I play a harp all day long. I sing in a choir, and I'm a soul that doesn't have a body. And that's actually that's not biblical. That's not in the Bible. The Bible actually says at the end of time that heaven is going to come down to earth, and he's going to make this place new, or we're going to dwell in a physical body like Jesus was when he resurrected, here together in this new creation. And God's going to get the garden, what he created, he's going to get that back in Revelation 22. And so the whole journey is going from one garden to the next garden, to the last garden. And so he's going to redeem this place. And what's true of creation is also true of humanity, that we are good, that we are fallen, and that we will be redeemed. And one thing he said about good is a really important piece that he camped on. It was important too. This Latin phrase, imago Dei. You may have heard that before, but it's a Latin for in the image of God. That we as God's representatives on this earth, that we are representing him by doing the things that he did because we were made in his image. We're subduing creation, meaning we rule over it the way he would, right? That's the key. We're stewards of his creation, and his expectation is that we would rule it, subdue it the way God would rule it and subdue it. That's when we get at fault with creation, is when we don't do that. That we are creating beings, that we create things, that we're creative, that we're artists, that we make stuff happen, that we take the raw materials that God has made and we build things, and then we make things, and we create beauty. We create order. We create diversity out of the physical realm. And then the last thing he says is that we are a communing, is what it means to be made in God's image, is that we are meant to have community with each other, with God and creation. Like we're meant to get out into the world and be in the midst of God's creation, which I don't like creation. It's like the lowest level for me of like connecting with God. And so I have to like force myself to get out and go, you know what? This is beautiful. And that we're meant to commune with each other in an embodied way. And so there's some implications. He gave these, why does it matter? Like, why does this doctrine matter? He says Christians should study and safeguard the planet because it's good, not because it's God. We don't worship it. It's separate from God. But we do steward it. We do subdue it because it's his, and we need to subdue it the way he would. Christians should take an interest in scientific pursuits. We should study it. We should learn about it. A lot of times people pit science against religion. It's like, no, if this creation is good, we should go be involved in actually the first several hundred years of scientific history. The leading people, the people on the leading edge of scientific discoveries were Christians because they were living this out. We are not the saviors of the world, he says, another implication, just like we're not the saviors of other people. Like, we shouldn't talk about saving the planet, though. There's only one savior of the world, and that's Jesus. He's going to save the world. And so we just join him in the work he's doing. We are created for embodied community was another implication that Chad talked about. We're created. That's why COVID was so hard. We couldn't be with other people, right? And yet we're created for that. Genesis 1 says, well, it's not good for man to be alone. So yeah, we need to be with others. And then last thing, being created in the image of God makes every single person valuable, precious, and deserving of dignity. So that's basically what Chad talked about in a nutshell, the review. So that's what he said. That was his session. So what questions do you all have? Have you listened to that? Listen to kind of the recap. Where do you want to go from here?
Do you want to go first, Andy, or you want me to?
Andy's going first this time since he made you go first in the beginning.
All right, Si, I think I'm starting hard.
Oh, gosh.
How does the image of God apply to people who feel broken, ashamed, addicted, or lost?
Mm-hmm. I think, so that's a really good question because it's getting at the tension. How can something be good and be fallen? Right, like that's the tension that you're wrestling with. Like, how can a human being be good, made in God's image, and yet have all of these feelings of shame and addiction and guilt and fear and feeling they don't belong? There is no fallenness without a prior goodness, right? You can't have the feeling that something's off if you don't believe that things should be on. Okay? Like, so there's no bad without good, just like there's no darkness without light. You have to have a prior state of what we think this world should and could be. Okay? And whatever that is, this paradise, this heaven on earth, there is something in us that says things are not the way they should be. Okay? And that justice gene, when you see, a starving child that doesn't have enough food to eat, or abused woman. Okay. There's something in you in a world that has no moral absolutes, no more universal morality at all. Those things are just things that exist. They're not good or bad. They just exist. They just are the way they are. Okay. But because we have in us God's created order, his morals, and his image in us, we see those things and we are able to identify those are not right. And the same is true for us. Okay. When we're addicted, when we've done things that have hurt ourselves and those around us, or things that bad have been done to us, the only reason we can even feel shame, feel guilt, is because prior to the fallenness of the world is this goodness embedded into this universe that has been messed up by sin. And so you can look at someone who's like, I just feel all this terrible stuff. And you go, well, why? If you aren't good, if you aren't meant to be good, then this stuff is just normal, right? Then this just is. But there's actually been an interesting revolution in postmodernity over the last 200 years or so. There's been this attempt by different authors that to try and eradicate guilt. We have this guilt. We don't know what to do with it. And so how do we get rid of it? Well, part of it was saying, well, let's eradicate morals. Like, if there's no moral absolute, we won't feel guilty, right? And so, but what happened was, with the eradication of morals and morality, humans still felt guilty, still felt ashamed. But now you have no morality of saying, hey, I did something wrong. And then if you can't say I did something wrong, then there's no redemption from Jesus of saving us from the wrong thing that we did, showing us grace and forgiving us, right? And so now I'm just stuck with this guilt, and yet my mind says, you shouldn't feel that. You're good. You didn't do anything wrong. You did what was ever your truth, right? And so actually it's interesting. having morals, having this created goodness, actually, when we break the God's law in the economy of God, we're able to go find forgiveness for that and the wiping away of the guilt. And so I would say that person who's just like feeling all of this, like you're feeling that because at your heart, you are good. At your heart, you do have God's image implanted in you, which tells you that the things that you're caught in, that you're trapped in, is not right. You wouldn't feel that unless you were made in his image. You see how those are connected?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is a tension. It is a tension, but I think it is that it's a tension that makes sense and helps us dig down deep into who God actually made us to be. Good question. What about you, Lindsay?
Like, I think that I listened to this and like this opened way more questions than I probably like, I don't know, deeper than probably what was on this video. Like, and I think about, okay, obviously I understand like the creation, or in the good, I understand the fallen and the brokenness and the redemption. I understand that part, but like, okay, so then it's like you think back to like Genesis and evolution, and you're creating people, and you're reproducing, and and he did say like creating doesn't necessarily mean like recreating humans. Like he did say
Sure.
that in that, and I kind of like thought that in my head, like, oh, you were talking about creating, and I went directly to like creating, and I take that also finding believers and helping, as we were going through this captain's thing, like discipling people. Like I also like saw it in that, kind of went that direction with it. Like I said, I went like down 5 different paths, but I like look at it and it's like, okay, creation and like evolution. But then like in our world, we have, different sexualities, and we have abortion. And like, I guess I don't know what my question is on this, because I'm really like, part of it is we're supposed to, and I'm not trying to get into politics, and I'm not trying to have you like get into like telling people that they can't be this sexuality or that sexuality or anything, but like, how do you like incorporate all of that? And like, I don't really know what my question is. Are you trying to pick up on what I'm trying to say? Is like you like incorporate all these like, and I mean, is that the brokenness part of this? Is that the fallen part of the whole thing?
Yeah. I think that is why the doctrine of humanity is such a big topic right now, is because we don't know who we are. We don't know what humans are supposed to be, because we look at the world and we say humans are good, and then we watch the news and go, humans are jacked up.
Yeah.
Right? And we're like, how do we reconcile these two things? This brokenness, and with trying to eradicate God from the picture and to try and create the world from the ground up, not from God's divine revelation, but finding the truth in ourselves. We've been trying, I've heard one of my professors, Mark Moore, he used to always say truth, like, the pre-modern world would say truth was up there to be revealed. Like I would receive truth from the God up there, whatever gods I believed in, they would tell me what was true, and then I would follow that. It was then modernity. Modernity is the age of science and the Enlightenment and all that kind of stuff. And modernity said truth is out there to be discovered. Like, let me go out there and find the truth in the world. That's where the scientific process came from. Problem to hypothesis to experimentation to observation to conclusion, right? But then came post-modernity, which is really at the age of the 2 world wars, is when this whole idea of we're making the world a better place. Then we used our technology to kill each other in the most massive way possible. And we saw the Holocaust happen. We go, we're not really that great people. Then we said truth's in here to be discovered. And when you become the king of your own truth, right, for yourself, the result of that is that we actually, it's the sin of the garden. It's we were made in God's image. Well, but Adam and Eve, how they were tempted? Satan said, you can be like God. They were already made in his image. They were already like him. So what was Satan saying? Satan was saying, you can be your own God. You can be equal to God. Okay? And that sin of saying, hey, I am the I am the sole judge, jury, and executioner on my truth, has brought about more depression, more anxiety, more like suicide, and all the mental health crisis we have today is a result of us trying to be not what God created us to be, right? When you are made in his image and he's God and you're not, you know your role. Like, and that still gives you dignity and value and worth. But when you try and make yourself God, there's something in us that goes, you're your own source of truth, yet you keep making dumb mistakes, dude. And that conscience there, it wreaks havoc on your life where you go, if it's all up to me, if I'm the God of my own truth, I'm in trouble, right? And it takes a while to learn that. It's the pain of this world, the fallenness of this world that makes you go at some point going, this ain't working no more, you know? And so I think what you're feeling, Lindsay, is, you know, these questions about sexuality, questions about gender, the questions about abortion, like what is a human life? Do we protect it? Like, you know, is the fetus, like when's the point of life that needs to be protected and dignified? All of this is a result of this doctrine of humanity that people are wrestling with about who we are as humans and what does that mean for us when it comes to sex, when it comes to identity, when it comes to dignity and value, reproduction. It all stems out of that. Absolutely. And it's a huge topic, and it's very relevant today.
And thank you for making a question out of that, because I don't really know what my actual question was, but but yeah, like, and like that stuff is not stuff I really ever thought about, but then like listening to that, it just like I said, it was like really like triggering, like, well, what about this? Well, what about this? Yeah. Well, what about that? So.
Yeah. Some books for when you talk about gender and sexuality, there's a couple of books. I'm trying to see if I have it right here. I do. I have this one. This book by Julie Slattery, I should post it now, called Rethinking Sexuality, is a great book on understanding God's design for sex. And it does it in a really, really not a fundamentalist way, not beat you over the head way, but it's a great resource for people. Also, Preston Sprinkle is a great name too. He has a book called Embodied on transgenderism and what Christianity says about that. That's a great resource to dive into as well.
There are Christian books for everything.
There are.
Do you read all of them?
I try to stay up on them, but I'm not the best. So, Andy, what's your question?
A lot of authors and only one Sai, so I think we cut you some slack. So, thinking of just one single point from the video, I want to know what is your favorite single point from the video, and or if you had the ability to make sure everybody on Earth knew that point, what would that be? And are they different?
That's a great question, dude. I think my favorite point, I think they're two different points. Okay. And so I think the first, my favorite point from the video that Chad made was, I think it's good for Christians to hear that the implication of all of this is that it is good for us to be a safeguard for the planet because it is good, not because it is God. I think that was a really great point because I think he's putting it in the right place, right? You know, you have, you know, a lot, you know, in the 60s and the 70s and even in American politics, what can happen is we can pit conservative evangelical Christianity, right, against environmentalists, those tree hugging hippies, right, and say, you know, hey, they're making too much of creation. Like they're trying to guard creation. Like we are above creation, like humans are. We are in a different category than creation is. And while that is true, you can have tree hugging hippies, almost, you know, the environmentalists of the world who argue that creation needs to be elevated, that it's almost what we worship as Mother Nature, right? And I think that point has nuance. That's what we've lost in American politics, is the ability to have nuance, right? It's those people that go, both are true. And they go, you're wishy-washy, you know, you need to have a stronger position. It's like, No, nuance is actually mostly how the world works. And that nuanced statement of, hey, yes, humans are in a different category than creation. We're the only thing that's said is made in God's image. But we're also told to subdue creation as representatives of God, meaning we care for it. We care for it the way he would, right? And so for the evangelical Christian and conservative, a far right conservative person, there's an elevation of, you probably need to care about God's creation more than you do right now, right? Because it's his, and you represent him in how you treat it. I think all of us could do it on an isolation, state. Do you believe someone is a good person if they beat their dog? It's like, well, no. Maybe Nick wants to beat that dog. Okay. But no, I wouldn't. I would actually have a hard conversation with that person about how they treat their dog. Like, that's not right. Why? It's just part of creation. Right. So we can do that on an isolated incident with one little puppy. But when you look at the creation as a whole, then you get into all the political stuff about oil and drilling and the environment and global warming and is it true or not? Saved from all of that, the principle that Chad's trying to talk about is, hey, in every season, every context, you represent God in how you care for your creation, for the creation. I think that's a really good point. And then for the environmentalists, the left-leaning environmentalists, it's saying, hey, creation is not your God. God is God. So it almost kind of brings it down a notch. Okay. So that's what I think is my favorite point he made in the video. The point I want everyone to hear for sure is that being created in the image of God makes every single person valuable, precious, and deserving of dignity. Every person. Because what we have done is we make demons out of our enemies. Right? That's what we do. Like, if there's someone's an enemy, we figure out a way to villainize them and demonize them and make them less than human. They hurt me. They don't deserve dignity. They are not valuable. They're not worthy. And there's the us-them mentality that we get into all politics. And we find scapegoats for everything. We find scapegoats for our current political situation. We've done it for years. First, it was the communists, that were living among us. Then it was the Japanese during World War II. And then it was the, we can just go through the list. Different race riots that were happening between blacks and whites and Latinos. And now, right? I mean, I'm going to get a little political on this. Now it's the illegal immigrants, right? They're the scapegoats. And we villainize them and we demonize them. The first question as Christians we have to ask is, are they humans made in God's image? And if they are, if we believe that to be true, then they are deserving of dignity, value, and what's the other thing you said? And worth. And they're precious. Okay. Does that mean that we should open the borders, let everybody in? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is how we treat humans as Christians is elevated because we believe every life is valuable and worthy of dignity. And so I think that's the most important point that I want every person to know and to remember and to live by on a daily basis.
Yeah, it was so good, and quite a bit of that's outward, but imagine if everyone on earth felt that about themselves too.
You can't love your neighbor as yourself if you don't love yourself well. Right.
And I do think that's like a struggle in our culture today too.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't
100%.
love themselves.
Absolutely. Because they haven't experienced the grace of God forgiving them of the mistakes they know they've made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this kind of goes along the lines of that. So like, which part of like the image of God do you think our culture probably most misunderstands right now?
The 3 points he made were subduing, creating, and communing. Okay. I would say easily it's the communing piece. I don't know. Would you all agree? Just the idea of like We're built for relationship.
Yeah.
You know, we're more connected than ever and more lonely than ever. Right? Like social media has done that.
Just was about to say social media. I think social media is.
Yeah.
What gives me faith as AI continues to expand.
Yeah, that's going to help. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
No, I mean, like, why I'm not as worried, because we're always going to need human connection. So we can automate all the things, but we need human to human interaction.
That's true. That's a good point. And you know, used to, I feel so lonely because I'm so aware. Used to, I didn't know if other people in my network went out and had dinner together. Like I wasn't invited, right? It's like that. I was never aware of that.
Exactly.
Right? You know, but now I see it on every feed every single day. And the reality is, I can't maintain that many friendships.
We already know that.
No one can. No one can maintain that many friendships, right? And so what happens is we want to have all of these connections, these networks, and we get really shallow relationships where we don't know them and they don't know us, and we still feel lonely, right? To combat loneliness is not more friendships, it's depth of friendships, okay? And it's that vulnerability of people knowing your deepest and darkest secrets and your wounds and your baggage and your aspirations and your dreams. And that takes embodied time. That takes lots of time. That actually pushes against the busyness value of our culture and says, no. More is not always better. More is not always better. Actually, I want to spend more time with less people because I want to be known and I want to know them. You know, and that takes, and it also takes time, certain spaces. We're actually going to talk about this in an upcoming episode, but certain spaces socially actually give you more opportunities for closeness and connection, and other spaces don't. So when you walk into a worship service of hundreds or thousands of people, or an event, or a music concert, you're not going to go there expecting closeness and connection with a handful of people. If you're at a backyard barbecue of 50 people, you're not going to have depth of conversation. What does it take? It takes one-on-one time. It takes 2 people, 4 people sitting together, and that's about it. There's actually sociology behind that. And so social media won't do it. The number of likes, the number of followers you have will not give you the belonging that you're looking for. And so I think that we are designed for communing with each other, with God, with creation. What that necessitates is slowing down. And it's a countercultural push against the way our culture is moving. It's saying, no, I'm not going to get caught up or swept up in it. I'm just not. And that's hard to do when you don't have that conviction and that value. And when you're hungry and thirsting for it so much, you're reaching for it. It's not going to come from there. It's slowing down. It's being present. It's listening to the voice of God. It's developing relationships, and those take time. And the first person you start developing a friendship with may not be that person, and that's okay. That's okay. But it's hard when you're yearning for it so much. Okay, last question.
You want me to go?
Yeah, you can go.
Okay. So when I was a newer believer, like most people, I just started in Genesis. And so one of the things that really stuck out with me said, every human intention is evil. And so I want to know, why do you think humans seem so capable of both incredible beauty and incredible evil?
Thanks for ending on an easy one, Andy.
This is why I made you go, Andy.
Yeah. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus keeps pushing down. He keeps going deeper and deeper. And so first he's like, you've heard that it was said, do not murder. Or I tell you, do not hate your brother. Because when you have hate in your heart, it's the same thing as murdering them. Right? And so what's interesting is he moves from these legal laws, these outward behaviors to heart conditions. Okay, and he's like, hey, yeah, we can get behavior management all day long. I can force my kids to put their dishes away, right? But that's behavior management. That's not digging at the root of like, hey, how do we help you see that I'm leaving a mess around the kitchen? And I want to be for Jerry and Chandler, I'm trying to help them see like, hey, you help manage this house. Like, this is where we live. If we all just leave trash everywhere, that's not going to help the house. It's going to make the house not helpful. So take ownership in where we live, right? Right. Well, that's a heart condition. What's at the heart of that is selfishness. Oh, I don't want to do it because I don't want to do it. I want to go do something else right now. Okay. And the same is true for us. Then from Matthew 5, he goes to Matthew 6. In Matthew 6, he says, okay, yep, so we're talking about heart issues, the things you don't do. Now let's talk about fasting. Let's talk about giving. Let's talk about prayer, the good things that we do. And he says, hey, when you pray, don't go stay on the corner so everyone sees you praying and they reward you for it. No, you go into your closet and close the door and pray to your Father who's unseen, and the Father who sees you, he'll reward you. Well, what's he getting at there? He's getting at the intentions of your good. Am I doing good just so that other people see me doing good? When I was at Ozark Christian College, it was such an interesting place to be in Bible college because the popular people were the holy people, or the people that were seen as holy because it was a Bible college, right? And so it was like people that went around and picked up other people's lunch trays and went and threw it away for them. So, oh, look at that servant-hearted person. And I was like, wait a second. I gain accolades by doing good things. You can see how the intentions of my heart can start to be so convoluted with selfish desires and ambition, right? And that's what I think he's getting at is sin is so pervasive that it is wreaking havoc on the intentions of why we do the good things that we do. And so that every inclination in their heart was evil is the element of we cannot on our own achieve the holiness and the selflessness of our God. Because even, there's a Friends episode where Phoebe's like, there's no, or Joey says, there's no truly selfless deed. It's a funny episode, but what he's getting at is the inclinations of our heart are still always about me. And yet the ability for us to still have beauty is that we still have the Imago Dei. We still have these moments when even if our inclinations of our heart are selfish, where we want to be seen by others as doing good, the reality is we still did good. Good was still done, right? And so and with Jesus, he begins to eradicate that in us. And the result is we do start having these shining moments when that does pop out, and we do represent God in a way he designed us to represent him. And good is done, and beauty is created. And so when you are good and fallen, and in the process of being redeemed, every human is not either all bad or all good. We have both of that in us. And Paul talks about this in Romans 7. The good I don't want to do, I don't do. And the bad I hate, I do. And that's the reality of life until we are fully made new, is that we're always going to have that tension. And you're going to see me do great things, beautiful things, moral things, and do dumb, stupid, selfish things too. Until Jesus can finally fix me totally and completely. So good stuff. Gang, this is a great episode. Thank you so much for your questions. We didn't get a lot into evolution and creation. There's so many good books on that. One of them I brought out was The Case for a Creator by Lee Strobel. This is a great book that you can read that helps you kind of unpack creation, evolution, and makes a case for why we believe in God creating the Latin word ex nihilo, out of nothing, and why it's valuable and why it's key and strategic and important for your life today. So, hey, thank you everybody for walking through this journey of basic Christian beliefs with us. 8 sessions through Ozark's Next Level course by that title. Hopefully it's been helpful for you. And remember, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Instagram or on Apple, Spotify, or Spotify. And as always, remember that you are made for more. So don't settle for anything less. Have a great day.